The Pfaff Creative 4.5 sewing machine and embroidery machine comes with a ton of accessories. So I want to walk you through where they all go so they fit into your accessory box correctly, and just a little bit of how they are used. And if there's ever a time where you see me pointing up in this right-hand corner, that means there's a link to one of our other videos that you can learn more about that particular accessory. So one thing I do want to show you is when this accessory box slides off, of course that's your free arm. You do take this off when you embroider, but there is also one accessory stored in here when the machine was shipped to you. This is your automatic buttonhole foot. So we'll just leave that in the back there. There's also one other thing I want to kind of point out while I have this off the machine, is that there is one of the foot compartments that has a hole in it. That hole is for one of the feet that has a little longer edge to the end, and it fits right there. So that's tip number one. This accessory is for bobbins. You can take that off, fill them up, put them back in here, and you actually have a little room down below for a few flatter items that you wish to store underneath. So I'm going to just slide that back on. We'll load it up as we go. One of the things that does come with this machine is a presser foot lifter. So that does fit in right here. And then when it's at the right level for you, you can lift and lower the presser foot with your right knee. So I will show you how to use that efficiently, but I am going to set that off to the side for right now. The other cord, I do have the machine plugged in, but this cord is to go into your foot control. Once I usually put it in, I don't actually usually take it out, but this part fits into the side of the machine, and then this part plugs in right here. Give it a good push, because that almost like clicks it into a little holder. There we go, nice tight push, and then lay it right into this little groove. That way when it sits flat on the floor, it doesn't interfere with the flatness of the foot control. All right, so we'll plug that in, and we'll be doing our machine setup video next. So again, that link right up here for when you're ready. And let's get into all the sealed bag of accessories, because there is so much that they do include with this machine. Now, once I usually open this up, I don't ever put them back in the bag. All right, so here we go. You will have, I believe it's 10 bobbins. So as I kind of get to the bobbins, I'll just kind of slide them in. One thing you will notice about the Pfaff bobbins is they are specific for this machine. So if you had other bobbins from other machines in the past, don't mix and match. They might be too tall, too wide. They just are not. Each machine has their own set of bobbins. So just make sure you keep them all separate at this time. All right, you do see a lot of little discs. These are like for spool caps. So I'm going to be winding up the machine with some thread off this Mettler spool. And see how it has a big end? I'm going to put that spool cap right up against it, so I make sure that it holds in place, and also make sure there's not a gap. If there's a gap, sometimes the thread will fall down. There are different sizes of spool caps, so some of your spools have smaller ends, so you'll want to match those up for the size of spool you're actually using. There are some felt discs. So this is something too that sometimes when we use our vertical spool, here they are, spool pins, that we'll take one of these discs and the felt pads, slide it down, and then the spool can go right on top of that. Sometimes when we're working to two spools or winding a bobbin while it's threaded, I mean, there's so many different combinations of ways we all sew differently. Okay, some of the other minor accessories. Cleaning brush. You must clean this machine out. I didn't say oil, I said clean. So when you want to click right up here to that cleaning video, we'll show you exactly where you want to get in and underneath this throat plate. And with that, yes, the screwdriver will help lift this off. This part, you'll notice there are no screws, yay. All you have to do is pop that off, and then you're in cleaning out that machine instantly. I love that. Seam ripper, we always get one of those with our sewing machines, nice. So we'll put that back there. Seam guide. Seam guide will actually slide into the side of, or I should say the back of the foot, and could help you keep a seam allowance that continues to go straight, or if you're doing cross hatching or multiple lines of decorative stitches, you can use the seam guide for those types of options. This is your stylus. For touching your screen, you can actually touch it with your fingernail, or since this does have its handy home right there. We'll go ahead and put it in its place. Okay, so now let's get down to some feet. And our regular 0A foot is on the machine. There is a 1A foot that has a little cutout kind of underneath, so for some of your decorative stitches. And your machine will actually tell you which foot you should have on it, any given stitch. So as the stitch changes, so does the foot. So for example, for this satin stitch, it says our 2A foot. That's one of those feet that were down in the box separately. They came in their own little Ziploc package. So there is a 2A foot and an 8 foot in here also. So the 2A foot, and you'll notice they are a little wider. So there is some wider options right over here on this side for those wider feet. We'll move those around. 1/4-inch foot included with this machine. This foot is considered an IDT foot, which means a dual feed. That little part in the back does need to be pulled down and engaged when this foot is in place. This is the foot that I talked about that has that little extra length to it. This is a manual buttonhole foot, 5M. That's the one that goes into that extra little place where the hole is. This foot has become one of my favorites because it is so universal. It is actually an adjustable foot. We'll use it for blind hems, overlocking, and edge stitching. So I love that. And that one will fit. Actually, I'm going to move this down so it fits in there. This little guy, foot number 4, is our zipper foot. Zipper feet can be attached on the left or the right. Remember the little tritons here? Those point to the back. That's so you can pull down that IDT dual feed right into each of those little crevices, depending on which side of the zipper you're working on. This is our free motion foot, 6A. There are different kinds of free motion feet. This would be one that comes with your machine, and there are some other ones that are a little better if you do a lot of free motion. And this is your embroidery foot. So when we do embroidery, this just slips on. I am going to store this kind of in the back area here, and then that way, just because its shape is a little bit different size. Okay, some thread nets. If you ever have any thread that just wants to fall off the spool or not play nicely, put a little just a little netting around them. It works great. Metallic threads, I've sometimes been using that on those. This is a multi-purpose tool. You'll notice actually we use it for 3 things. Going up and over really thick seams, kind of like a hump jumper. It has a hole, so if you're putting your needle in or out of the machine, it can catch it and also help hold it high enough when you go to insert it. And the last thing we use this for is when we sew buttons on. If you want a little extra shank of thread, this works wonderful. And we also have a pack of needles. Nice variety pack comes with the Pfaff machines. We do have a whole list of needle videos. We'll link you over to the playlist, and then each video is got a nice short description of lots of different needles and what they're used for. Thread nets, let's see here. There's 3 things left. A little screen cleaner, a little bit to wipe down the screen. In the little pink pack is your USB stick that can load designs on. Even though it says a 1 gig stick, it really holds a lot of designs. Mostly when I use this, I'll make sure that I'm really just using it to transfer designs from my computer to the stick and then moving them to my machine and using it. Once I'm done with those designs, I usually delete them and then just use this as a transport between the computer and your machine. And then that way, I always have kind of my backups on the computer at all times. So that's that. This little guy is a great little, here I'll show you how this all goes in. If you take this little cord, slip it into the ring on the USB stick here. Yes, it moves around. There we go. Once I do this, I never take it off. All right, and then take the loop and hook that through. Then that can stay attached at all times. There we go. And you won't lose it. Perfect. And then there is a cord that you can connect on the side of your machine directly to your computer for using and transferring designs using the free program that you can download from Pfaff's website. We'll reference that in a couple other videos where you can get some free fonts called from the Quick Font program. Let's link right up to that video and you can go see what I'm talking about now if you're curious. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started on getting our machine completely threaded, correctly wind to bobbin, and get that needle threaded, and let's get sewing.